Thank you, everybody. It's my first time in Berlin, first time at Hubs. Really, really excited to be here and talk to you about what the introductor called a once-in-a-century shift. I mean, that sounds like a big shift, and we certainly believe it is. It's a big shift in how consumers buy and the implications for companies. And maybe the best way to start is with a personal story. This is about 9 to 12 months ago, and my wife and my daughter, 6-year-old daughter, were in Shanghai. And I was in San Francisco, where we live, and it was about 5 or 6 p.m. I'm sitting down alone for dinner, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it's the morning over there. They woke up, and I texted my wife and said, well, how are things? How are you doing? And she texted back and says, I'm not doing very well. It's not good. It's really raining really hard. The reason they had to go to Shanghai was they needed to visit an office, and it closes at 11 p.m. It was 10:30, and she could not get a taxi, right? And it's raining hard, and she's with our daughter. And I said, well, that's not really good. Texted her, says, tell me what street or corner you're on. She texted it back, and I was like, well, I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but let me try. I pull out my phone, I fire up Uber, right? And I just kind of zone in Shanghai and from San Francisco, and I said, well, there's actually 5 Uber cars nearby you. How about I just grab one for you? I clicked a button. The driver came up. I actually called the driver up to make sure, right, the two of them were connected. And then I texted her and said, well, did you find the car? She's like, I'm in there. We're on our way. They made it to the place at 10:55, right, 5 minutes before the office closed. And I was able to save the day 6,000 miles away in San Francisco. So that was an eye-opening experience for me, right? This is before all the news about Uber going to China, and I didn't even know that Uber was going to work. And why is that story important? Because, I mean, here I was, sitting in San Francisco, and through my phone, I can control essentially a worldwide Internet of Things infrastructure, right? A worldwide connected car infrastructure. And I'm sure in the past 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, each of you guys had some sort of similar experience where you needed something, you weren't sure if it was possible, you whip out your phone, and the next thing you know, you're able to do things and control things in a way that was never before possible. And now, each time that we do this, and it's happening with more and more frequency, our expectations of things that we use and our expectations of things that we buy are changing. And they're changing very, very rapidly, to the point where our expectations now are very, very different, right? When we want an outcome, we don't want to think about, well, we have to buy something, we have to install something. We don't care about the physical assets anymore. We simply want to whip out our phone, whether it's getting from point A to point B, whether it's accessing entertainment, whether it's doing the type of work we want. This is what we want. We want things to be customized, right? We want things to be customized to our needs. We're used to the things that we use, watch our behavior, know of our preferences, and act in a different way that's customized to us versus everybody else in the world. And then, this is even more important. We expect things to get better and better now. We're expecting our software apps to be self-updating. We're expecting the things that we use, right? The TV sets are updating. Even the cars are updating, right? The Teslas now are connected to the internet, and they update themselves every few weeks. And once you get used to walking into a car that has new functionality and new capability, is getting better and better, it's odd to walk into something else. And this change in expectations is really driving things. This is behind some of the data that we're seeing, right? Some of the data that we're seeing where, you know, we did a study with The Economist in 2014, and they said 80% of companies are saying, you know, our customers are asking for these alternative consumption models. They don't want to buy our product anymore. They want to benefit of what we do without having to deal with the physical products that we actually want to sell them, right? 50% in France said people are moving away from traditional ownership. Now, I'm in Germany. You know, the crazy French, right? They don't want to own things. It's a little weird, but we did the same study in Germany. And 80% of the companies in Germany said they are dealing with the issue of subscription-based business models. This is something they're actively thinking about. And in the US, spending on subscriptions has doubled in the last 15 years to a $420 billion business. You think about the music industry. This is one example where when we went to the digital world, right? We went from buying CDs in places like HMV, to just buying, you know, a song. Instead of buying the whole CD, we'll buy a song. We're still buying a store. It just happens to be a digital store, Apple iTunes. But why are Apple iTunes same song or song sales declining year over year 20%? It's because we shifted to something that's an overall music experience. If you think about the experience in music, it goes way beyond the song. It has an element of discovering new music, of knowing what are the latest things being played, of the serendipity that you feel when you're not quite sure what is the next song that's going to come on, right? Of sharing it to your friends, the new songs that you found, signaling who you are, your self-identity based on the music that you like. When you put all that together, you wind up at Spotify, right? You wind up at Pandora. You wind up with a place where Apple has to spend $3 billion so that they can go to where customers are going, which is an overall music experience. And the individual products, in this case a song, become less and less important. They're simply wrapped into an overall experience. This is what we're seeing in industry after industry, right? There's companies out there that are sending you boxes of goods, predicting that's what you want. The whole high-tech industry is moving toward this world where they're offering you subscription services. Microsoft is doing it. Cisco is doing it. Cisco used to say, well, we don't sell products, we sell solutions. Now they're saying, well, we don't sell solutions, we sell outcomes. We want to sell the outcome that the customer wants. You're seeing this in education. You're seeing this communication. You're seeing this in news, music, movie, right? Any type of media content. Every industry is saying, how do we now reinvent ourselves to go beyond the product, right, and deliver the outcomes, to deliver the continuous improvements, and deliver on today's customer expectations. Certainly this is happening with startups. There's a lot of startups that are now going IPO, and this is a list of some of our customers reflected back in the industry, right? But more and more, the large companies are doing this. The large companies are doing this because they're saying, you know, we have customers today. The startups have to go acquire customers. We have customers today, but how do we rethink what we do? How do we, in terms of not selling a product to potentially anonymous customers, but how do we start with the customers, go back in and rethink our business in terms of a service selling to customers? This is the new imperative. The companies are saying, we have customers today, but how do we think of our customers as subscribers? How do we turn them into subscribers? Well, what's the difference? A customer is somebody that maybe purchased something from you in the past and maybe will buy something from you in the future. Sometimes you don't even know who they are. A subscriber is somebody you have a relationship with. You have their ID, you have their logins, you have their credit card information or the payment information, right? And you have an ongoing relationship with them and you're measuring what they're doing with you, with the service that you have, and you're adapting themselves to it. Now this changes everything. This changes the whole way a company is structured. We don't have time to cover every little detail, but let me just give you some examples. This is how companies operate today. Companies think of themselves as building a hit product. How do I come up with a runaway hit product, the next iPad, the next iPhone? And how do I sell it across as many distribution channels as I can? Because my goal is to shift as many units of the product as I can through the channel, whether it's a newspaper, it's a car, it's a movie, right? It's pens. And I've got customers on the other end, certainly, but I often don't even know who they are. They buy my newspaper off a newsstand, they buy my cars in a dealer. How do I now start with my customer? And then realize that my customer spends time in all these different places. They come to my store, they talk to my salespeople, they talk to my partners, they're on their phone, they're on their tablets, and wherever they are, I want them to access my innovations. I want to intersect them where they are, but with an experience that makes sense for that channel, that makes sense for that interaction, right? That's how I have to think. I care less about how many iPhones and iPads do I ship. I care how many Apple IDs do I have, right? And how do I monetize those Apple IDs? Apple's not, satisfied with selling you a product anymore. They want you to activate that Apple ID so they know who you are and they're tracking everything back to that Apple ID. Now this changes. This changes everything you do inside of a company, right? And these are some examples. Pricing changes. It used to be, well, look, I need a price per unit, $5, $500, $5,000. But now it's like, well, it's a service. And how do I think about the value that my customers are getting from the service? And do I charge based on the values? The value per user, per gigabyte, per month, per day, right? Per scan. Caterpillar is saying, how do I stop selling tractors and start selling metric tons of earth moved, right? And this is how dramatic the thinking starts to shift. Your branding is very different. It's not about branding the product. It's about understanding, building a completely different experience. You think about the experience of shared car drives, right? That's what it's about. I'm not solving products anymore in my sales channel. I've got to understand that specific customer, solve their needs, all the way down to the culture, right? The culture used to be about building that hit product. Let me invest as much R&D as I can, as much marketing as I can. Let's design that hit product. Let's try to feed it into the channel, and the success of that product will be dictated on how many units do I sell. Now it's about, well, how many customers do I have? How deep are those customer relationships, and how am I monetizing those relationships? So what happens? What happens? Organizations are saying, over the last 100 years, we've organized in these functional silos, right? And we can operate somewhat independently, and this is how we scale an organization to sell as many units as you can. You're responsible for figuring out what product we should build. You actually design and manufacture it. You go out there and sell this product based on the feature functionality, right? You track how we're doing in terms of the costs and the margins and so on and so forth, but we're functionally siloed in the organization because our goal is to get that product into market. But now it's about the customer. It's about building customer intimacy. It's about understanding where are we in that subscriber relationship. Are we early, where they're trying out our services, right? Maybe it's a free trial, maybe it's a freemium, maybe they're dabbling, or are they somebody that's deeply committed to us, right, and wants more value from us, but was willing to pay us more money, right? What is it? And so now you got to reorganize your whole company. I was talking to, stick with the newspaper example, a major newspaper company, and they said we used to break ourselves into product channels, right? You're the advertising person, you're the newsstand person, you're the home delivery person, right? But now we got to reorganize ourselves in terms of customers. We have customer facing, you own this segment, you own this segment, you own this segment, and we'll source all sorts of innovations that make sense for that customer segment, perhaps even from third parties. And you've seen some of the innovative newspapers do things like bundle Spotify, bundle movie streaming into that overall experience to deliver what they want for that customer. So it's a whole different way of organizing. Now, there are systems implications to this as well, and this is what we see as ultimately a software vendor, right? Because companies are saying, you know, I spent the last 20 years really putting in these ERP systems, right? And here in Germany, obviously SAP, a major provider of ERP systems to manage my supply chain, to make me more efficient, to drive down the unit cost, right, of the products that I do, and ERP systems do a great job of that. I've also put in these CRM systems for my customer-facing employees, my salespeople, my contact center, my marketing department, and this is where I collect all the internal information of my customers and my activities. I track all the activities that I do with my customer. But there's all this stuff in the middle, right? And these are the stuff that actually touch the customer. If my goal is to build dynamic subscriber relationships that change, right, based on customer needs and monetize those relationships, these are the things that actually touch the customer, and they have to change quite a bit, and they have to be all wrapped around that customer versus around the product, right? These are things like how I price, billing the customer, right, collecting from the customer, and issuing the customer quotes, building self-service sites so the customer can engage in self-service commerce. Revenue recognition actually touches the customer. Every time the customer relationship change, there are revenue recognition implications. So there's a whole range of applications that have to change, and companies are now realizing that ERP is fantastic for running my supply chain and creating these products, storing these products, sending them to the retail stores, right? CRM makes a lot of sense, but there's this thing in the middle that I need in order to be successful with these new subscriber-centric, customer-centric businesses. This is what we do, and this is called relationship business management. And when we talk to companies, the companies are saying, if I don't put something like this in, an agile platform that allows me to price and package and experiment and develop deep customer relationships, I have a hard time doing these things. I have a hard time launching new products and services. I have a hard time expanding to new geographies and dealing with an international payment method system, right? Perhaps I'm selling to businesses now, but I see my growth is selling to small businesses or consumers. Perhaps I'm selling to consumers now. My future is selling to businesses, and I can't do that, right? I need to support high volume, simple sales and customized deals for my business channels. I can't price and package. I can't upsell. I'm acquiring customers, but the pricing, the packaging, the billing is completely different for some of my new offerings, and I don't know how to do that. I can't support my sales team. I can't spin off businesses. Or even more importantly, in these subscriber businesses, you realize that churn becomes really important. I can't manage churn. I'm doing a good job of acquiring customers, but after 6, 12, 18 months, they're simply out the door, and I'm having a hard time growing, right? And so when you look at our customers, whether it's telecom companies launching over-the-top services and monetizing new revenue streams, whether it's consumer companies saying, I want to change the consumer relationship. I want, just like Amazon has an Amazon ID, Google has a Google ID, I'm Nike and I want a Nike ID. I'm Starbucks and I want a Starbucks ID. I'm going to wrap everything I do around the customer in a new way, look at the information I know about my customers and use that to design customized services who they are. Whether it's technology companies all moving towards subscriptions, You guys in the room probably buy a lot of technologies and you're telling them, we want to subscribe to it, right? We want you to own everything. We simply want the outcome. Whether you're a media company with paywalls or monetizing subscription music, subscription movies, or here in Germany, really, really important. You're a manufacturing company and you've invested a lot of energy over the last few years in making your devices smart devices, connected devices, and you're saying, you know, now I have all this information about how my customers are using my products, how they're driving my cars, how they're using my thermostats that I never had before. How do I now wrap that into a service that delivers the outcomes that they want, and then takes more of the burden away from product ownership, dealing with the product, and really delivering them what they want. That's my future. This is the future of IoT. What's common across all these is the shift in thinking away from thinking I sell products to I have customers, and my customers subscribe to what I do, and I've got a subscriber relationship with them. And so this is what we're seeing. And you know this. In your personal lives, you are changing as a customer every single day. Every time you whip out your phone to access what you want, right? Transportation, entertainment, food, business, work, play, you know that the world is changing. You know that everybody is changing. And when you think about your customers and the businesses that you run, businesses have to change today. The imperative today is to not think about your customers as simply people that buy your products, but turn them into subscribers, turn them into people that have active relationships with you. If you want to learn more, we have a booth out there, this website you can go to access this book. Somebody said it's like a children's book, so maybe you can actually buy this for your kids for Christmas and solve that problem. But it's a great book. But if you go to info.zuora.com, Inspirationen, I think is the German word, right, for this, you can learn more or come talk to us directly. And that's the shift to the subscription economy that we see, that we think are impacting all the businesses today. Thank you very much.